It was early in the morning, just as the first rays of sun pierced through the fog and warmed the rolling hills of the countryside. The world was still, save for the faint sounds of birds chirping and the rustle of leaves in the soft breeze. But out in the far corner of an empty, forgotten field, there was a sound that didn't belong to nature, a soft, desperate squeal. A tiny piglet, no bigger than a football, lay abandoned, shivering in the damp grass. Its fur was dirty, matted with mud, and its eyes were wide with confusion. How had it ended up here? There were no other animals in sight. No other signs of life. It was a miracle it had even been born in such a desolate place. A passing farmer, on his way to his fields, was the first to hear the tiny cries. At first, he thought it might be a cat or some other small creature. But as he approached, his heart sank. It was a piglet, alone and terrified. No sign of its mother, no siblings to be found. It was a stark, lonely picture. The farmer knelt down, carefully scooping up the tiny creature in his large hands. He had been around animals long enough to know when something needed help, and this poor piglet certainly did. He looked around one more time, hoping to spot any signs of the mother, a large sow, perhaps, but there was nothing. It seemed as though the little one had been abandoned. With a soft sigh, the farmer tucked the piglet under his coat and headed back to his farm. When they arrived at the rescue farm, the farmer made a quick call to an animal rescue shelter he knew well. It was a small, unassuming place tucked away just outside of town, but it had a reputation for being a sanctuary for animals in need. The kind of place where animals found not just a home, but a future. The workers at the shelter took one look at the piglet and knew they had their work cut out for them. They had no idea how long it had been without its mother, but it was clear that the little pig was in rough shape. The rescue workers, led by a kind woman named Clara, immediately set to work. They cleaned the piglet up, gave it a warm bottle of milk, and wrapped it in a soft blanket. Clara, a woman in her late 30s with a heart full of love for all creatures, was known to have a special connection with animals. She had been working at the shelter for over 10 years and had seen her fair share of abandoned and neglected animals. But there was something different about this little pig. It was resilient. Despite being so small and weak, it had an unshakable spirit. "Look at that," Clara said, smiling as she watched the piglet nuzzle into the warmth of the blanket. "You're a fighter, aren't you?" They named the piglet, Pip. It seemed fitting, small and delicate, yet with a spark of something more. Clara and the rest of the team at the rescue farm made sure Pip had everything it needed to grow strong again. They kept it warm, fed it regularly, and showered it with love and attention. Slowly but surely, Pip began to recover. The days turned into weeks, and the little piglet grew more and more confident. His coat became shiny and smooth, and his eyes, once filled with confusion, now shone with the curiosity of a young animal eager to explore the world. But there was one thing that was more important than all of the other care. Pip had found a family. He had a place where he belonged, a team of people who cared for him as though he were their own. It wasn't just the workers at the rescue farm who loved him, it was the volunteers, the children who came to visit the farm, and even the other animals. There was a bond between Pip and the people there that no one could deny. One morning, as Clara was making her rounds to check on the animals, she noticed something different. There was a new family, standing in the entrance of the shelter, looking around. It wasn't unusual for families to come by to adopt animals, but something about this particular family felt different. They were warm and welcoming, and their eyes sparkled with excitement. As Clara greeted them, she learned they were looking for a pet to join their family. But they weren't looking for just any animal. "We've been thinking about adopting a pig," the father, Greg, explained, "and we've heard that Pip here is quite the character." Clara couldn't help but smile. "Oh, he is," she said. "He's got a lot of personality. He's grown up here, so he's used to being around people and other animals. He's very friendly, loves to be petted, and, of course, he's incredibly curious." The family, a young couple with 2 small children, had visited a few other shelters but hadn't found the right fit. They wanted a pet that would be part of their family, not just a farm animal. They wanted something unique, something that could provide not only companionship but also a bit of joy and lightness in their lives. "We just feel like he's the one," the mother, Emily, said softly, her eyes glinting with a mix of joy and excitement. "Do you think he could come home with us today?" Clara paused for a moment, her fingers brushing through Pip's soft fur. She knew that sending Pip to a new home was a big decision. But she could see the love in their eyes. They were the kind of family who would treat him well. This would be Pip's chance to have a real family, to have a home where he would never be abandoned again. "I think he would love that," Clara said with a smile. "He's ready for a new adventure." And so, after all the care, love, and effort to nurse him back to health, Pip began his new life with the family who would soon come to love him more than they could have imagined. His journey, from an abandoned piglet in a field to becoming the cherished pet of a loving family, was only just beginning. Little did anyone know, Pip was destined for something even greater, to become the pet of the year, a symbol of resilience, hope, and the unbreakable bond between humans and animals. Pip's new life with Greg, Emily, and their 2 children, Lucy and Ben, was everything he could have ever hoped for, and so much more. It was a world away from the abandoned field where he had once been left to fend for himself. Now, he had a warm home, a family who adored him, and the promise of a future filled with love and adventure. The first day Pip arrived at their house was like stepping into a dream. The children, Lucy and Ben, were absolutely delighted, their faces lighting up the moment they saw him. Pip, still getting used to the hustle and bustle of human life, was hesitant at first. He snorted and snuffled, his little hooves clicking against the wooden floors as he explored the house, taking in the strange smells and sounds. But he didn't stay nervous for long. Within hours, he was rooting through the corners of the kitchen and investigating the backyard, where a grassy area awaited his little hooves to run through. "I think he likes it here," Emily said, grinning as Pip trotted over to her, nudging her legs with his snout. She crouched down and scratched behind his ears, something Pip quickly became accustomed to. He loved being the center of attention, especially when it came to cuddles and belly rubs. Greg, ever the outdoorsman, built Pip a little pen in the backyard, but this wasn't just any pen. It was a cozy little space with a tiny wooden house, a patch of grass to root in, and a soft bed inside. But what really made it special was the garden that surrounded it. Pip had never seen anything like it. Bright flowers bloomed, vegetables grew in neat rows, and there was a small pond with koi fish that glittered under the sunlight. It was a perfect little paradise, and it became Pip's favorite place to explore. The family quickly discovered that Pip was not like other pets. He wasn't a dog or a cat. He didn't want to curl up on the couch or fetch a ball. Instead, Pip liked to follow Emily around as she did the gardening, snuffling through the dirt and occasionally stealing a bite of lettuce. He would sit in the corner of the yard, watching Greg work on the lawnmower or tinkering with tools in the shed. He was always curious, always watching, and always eager to learn. "Look at him go," Ben said one afternoon, pointing at Pip, who was happily digging a small hole near the garden's edge. Pip's newfound family was not only patient with him but also fascinated by his behavior. They soon learned that pigs, much like dogs, could be trained to follow simple commands. Pip was a quick learner, and before long, he could sit, stay, and even shake hands, or rather, shake hooves. His little tricks became a source of endless entertainment for the family, and his antics brought laughter to their home every single day. As the weeks passed, the family's bond with Pip grew stronger. He was no longer just a pet, he was a true member of their family. He would sleep at the foot of the children's beds at night, curling up in a ball to keep warm. He would join them for meals, happily sitting under the table and waiting for any dropped scraps. And he always insisted on being part of family activities, whether it was playing in the backyard, going on walks, or simply curling up on the couch for movie night. But it wasn't just the family who fell in love with Pip. Their neighbors, friends, and even strangers were charmed by the little pig. When they took him to the park, people stopped in their tracks, amazed to see a pig trotting along beside a family, tail wagging in joy. The kids at the local school had never seen anything like it and would eagerly crowd around Pip, eager to give him scratches and watch him perform his tricks. Pip became somewhat of a local celebrity. One afternoon, a local journalist from the town's newspaper came by to write an article about the family's unique pet. Emily and Greg were more than happy to share their story, and before long, the article was published. The headline read, "Meet Pip, the pig who became part of the family." The story went viral, and people from all over the region were inspired by Pip's incredible journey, from an abandoned piglet to the beloved pet of a kind, loving family. Soon after, the family received a call from the Pet of the Year committee. They had been following the story of Pip's incredible transformation and wanted to nominate him for the annual award. At first, Emily and Greg were taken aback. A pig? As Pet of the Year? They had never expected anything like this. But after talking it over with Lucy and Ben, they realized that Pip was more than deserving. He had not only overcome adversity but had brought an immeasurable amount of joy to everyone he met. He had truly become something special. The journey to becoming Pet of the Year was no easy feat. Pip had to be voted on by a panel of judges, and the competition was fierce. Pets from all over the country were in the running, from dogs that had saved their owners from danger to cats that had performed extraordinary feats. But as the public votes came pouring in, it was clear that Pip's charm had captured the hearts of many. His story resonated with people, touching them in a way no other animal could. Pip's family, who had initially doubted that he could be a contender for such an honor, found themselves swept up in the excitement. They held their breath as the voting period came to a close, and the final decision was made. Would Pip be chosen as the Pet of the Year? Would this little pig, who had once been abandoned and alone in a field, truly make it to the top? The day the announcement was made, the family gathered around their computer. Lucy and Ben could barely contain their excitement, their faces lit up with anticipation. When the announcement flashed on the screen, they all gasped. Pip had won. He was officially the Pet of the Year. The moment was bittersweet for Clara, the woman who had cared for him so lovingly at the rescue farm. She had always known Pip was special, but seeing him achieve such recognition filled her heart with pride. Pip's journey was proof that no matter how small or insignificant an animal might seem, they could rise to greatness with love, care, and the support of a family who believed in them. But even as Pip basked in the glow of his newfound fame, he remained the same piglet he had always been, curious, playful, and full of joy. He didn't care about the award. He cared about belly rubs, sunshine on his back, and the laughter of the children who had made him a part of their lives. He was, after all, more than just a pet. He was family. But there was one more twist in his tale, something unexpected that would make Pip's story even more incredible. The excitement of Pip's victory as Pet of the Year was nothing short of overwhelming for the family. The news spread fast, and soon, they were being invited to events, interviews, and even television shows. People couldn't get enough of the pig who had won hearts everywhere. The family's home became a whirlwind of activity, as reporters and fans alike sought to meet the charming pig who had captured the nation's attention. Despite all the commotion, Pip remained the same. He was still the playful, curious pig who loved nothing more than rolling around in the garden, snuffling through piles of leaves, and lounging in the sun with his family. But one thing had changed. Now, more people knew his story. And Pip, with his simple yet powerful message of resilience and love, became a symbol of hope for those who had ever felt abandoned or overlooked. One afternoon, a special visitor came to the house. It was Clara, the woman from the rescue farm who had nursed Pip back to health all those months ago. She had been following Pip's journey from afar and was so proud of how far he had come. But she wanted to see him again, to reconnect with the piglet who had left such a mark on her heart. When Clara walked through the door, Pip immediately recognized her. He trotted over with a squeal of excitement, nudging her with his snout as if to say, "I remember you." Clara laughed and bent down to hug him, feeling the familiar warmth of his little body. For a moment, everything felt just as it had when Pip had first arrived at the rescue farm, full of hope and new beginnings. "Look at you," Clara said, her voice thick with emotion. "You've become such a wonderful, special pig. I always knew you had it in you." Pip snorted happily, his tail wagging. He had a way of making people feel loved, no matter how big or small they were. "I'm so glad you're happy, Pip," Clara continued. "You've found your place, you've found your family, and you've found a purpose." As the months passed, Pip's story continued to inspire people from all walks of life. His face appeared on posters, in books, and on the covers of magazines. He was even featured in an animal welfare campaign to raise awareness about the importance of adopting animals and giving them second chances. The campaign, titled A Home for Every Heart, showed how a little love and care could change the life of an animal forever. And Pip was the shining star of it all. One day, the family received an invitation to participate in a charity event for the rescue farm that had saved Pip's life. It was to be held at a local park, and the goal was to raise funds to support animals in need. Clara was organizing the event, and she wanted Pip to be the guest of honor. On the day of the event, the park was packed with people. Families gathered under tents, children played games, and volunteers worked tirelessly to raise money for the shelter. Pip, dressed in a tiny bow tie, was a celebrity once more. But unlike the flashy red carpets and fancy interviews, this event had a deeper meaning for Pip and his family. It wasn't about fame or awards. It was about giving back, about helping other animals who were in the same situation Pip had once been in. As the event began, Clara took the stage to speak to the crowd. She talked about the importance of rescue animals and the power of second chances, telling Pip's story to a captivated audience. Pip was found abandoned in a field, Clara said, her voice strong and steady. He was alone, scared, and vulnerable. But look at him now. Look at how much love and joy he's brought to this family, and to all of you. He's not just a pig. He's a reminder that no matter what happens, there's always a chance for a new beginning. The crowd cheered, and Pip snorted proudly from the stage, his little tail wagging furiously. It wasn't about being the pet of the year anymore. It was about something deeper. The power of love, the importance of rescue, and the unspoken bond that forms between an animal and the people who give it a chance at life. After the event, something extraordinary happened. The donations to the rescue farm poured in, far surpassing anyone's expectations. Thanks to Pip's story and the efforts of the family and volunteers, the farm was able to rescue dozens of other animals, pigs, cows, goats, and more, and provide them with the care and shelter they needed. The funds also helped to support educational programs about animal welfare, ensuring that future generations would grow up understanding the importance of kindness and compassion toward all living creatures. In the months that followed, Pip continued to live a happy, fulfilled life with his family. He still enjoyed his daily adventures, from playing with Lucy and Ben in the backyard to sneaking snacks from the dinner table. But his life had a new purpose now. He was more than just a pet. He was a symbol of change, of hope, and of the possibility that every animal, no matter their beginnings, could have a bright and beautiful future. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden light over the garden, Pip lay in his favorite spot, watching the stars begin to twinkle in the sky. He had come so far, from that lonely field to becoming an icon of hope. He was safe, loved, and at peace. Greg and Emily stood beside him, their arms around each other as they looked out at their little pig, the one they had rescued, the one who had become a family member, and the one who had changed the course of their lives forever. "Do you think he knows how much he's done for the world?" Emily whispered, her eyes soft as she watched Pip sniff the air and wag his tail. Greg smiled. "I think he knows. He's brought us so much joy. He's given so much love. Maybe that's enough." And so, Pip's story continued, not just as a remarkable tale of a pig who became the pet of the year, but as a living, breathing testament to the power of kindness, compassion, and the unbreakable bond between a family and the animal they rescued.